everybody. This is our trying to record this podcast.
Fourth time.
I just feel like it has been a lot of warfare on our minds trying to keep being encouraged and keep going to do this. And that's how I know we're on to something good.
And it's like such minuscule things going wrong. Like you would never imagine. And these are things that we do 100 times a month.
But we definitely thought that it was important to start this podcast called On Our Way. So I'll get into the why, but first, honey, you explain to everybody why we call it On Our Way.
I got you, baby. So it is called On Our Way because we actually have a vlog series called On Our Way, which covers the behind the scenes of all of our major productions. And rather than us talking to you on camera and giving you step-by-step instructions, like you're just there as though you're following along with us on this journey, on our way.
We're on our way to whatever God has for us the rest of our lives. And we felt like it was important to do a podcast like this because very rarely do you see young married couples opening up about being married in this day and age. We just wanted to be a part of the healthy couples that actually like each other, not perfect couples, but just couples that are committed to putting God at the center. So yeah, that's how we're doing it. This first one is basically talking about us deciding to do something different in our marriage than what we have seen. And I think we did 4 things that really helped us craft our marriage, how we want it to be and to reflect us. And I think the first thing that we did was really get serious and tackle our traumas and get transparent about them as well. And with each other, not just by ourselves. Like, let me know what baggage you got. I'll let you know what I got. And that's important, especially when you're dating, because a lot of times you don't get into the deep stuff until you're married. But it's like, we could have worked this out way beforehand.
Yeah, and already had it figured out what our tools are and moved on from it.
And I think that it was important specifically for us too, because we grew up 2 different ways. Like I grew up in the suburban lifestyle, 2-parent household, sister dog, all of those things. But there were some challenges and traumas within my scope. And I know you grew up very different too.
Yeah, so I grew up in a single parent household with just my mom. So that dynamic, a lot of that kind of dictated how I viewed relationships, friendships, marriages, like everything, because I kind of got to see that from, a Black woman's perspective growing up, and that being the only example I had at home.
When we got together, there were things like that we had to really unlearn in order to be healthy for each other. And a lot of that was a tribute to therapy, but I know it's not something that is widely done in the African-American household.
Yeah, I definitely didn't grow up in a household where we went to therapy. One thing, my mom would always journal and things like that, but I would never like physically go and like the only time I would see a therapist was on like the TV show or on the movie when they're sitting back in the chair and talking to the person. Like I always imagined that that's how it would be. And my actual first like professional therapy session came from university, like going to and using the campus resources to go and see a therapist. And that's when I actually got like professional feedback, because prior to that, I wouldn't even call it therapy. It was just, oh, you're gonna go in this room with Deacon such and such and the rest of the youth, and y'all are gonna make sure that y'all make it into heaven by obeying your parents. Like, we never got to actually talk about the issues that we were having and how to solve them. I don't think that that's necessarily a knock to that type of therapy, but professional help is completely different.
Say it again for the people in the back. Like, that's what I feel like my journey has taught me. I grew up in the church too. Jesus can do all things, can do everything, but he also anointed people to be able to help you walk out the physical part of life. Yeah. I think Jesus plus therapy is definitely always a go-to. And I think that it's important to go to therapy by yourself, period. Just because like there were a lot of things that I addressed in therapy by myself that had I not addressed that, I would have have been bleeding on you.
Break that down even further, just in case they don't understand what bleeding on you means.
So bleeding, when I say bleeding on somebody, I mean, let's say somebody does something and it's a trigger and it triggers a natural, like this is the reaction that you have, grew up saying, oh, this is just me, but really it's not just you, it's a trauma response. And so when something happens, if I don't go and sort out my stuff, I end up bleeding on you and giving you the worst of me because I'm acting out because it's unresolved trauma. And so I really appreciate us doing that before we got married, before we got engaged, so we could address and see each other's wounds and heal those.
That bleeding on you, I asked you to break that down just because when you first said it out loud to me, it wasn't presented to me in a way that, you know, this is what you had to do. I was going through a lot myself, and one of the first things, like my responses were completely different from what you were used to getting from me. Like I tensed up, I was to myself, like, and then if you would say something or ask something of me, you got a very nonchalant or melancholy response, like, and that just wasn't what you were used to. And so you would say, like, you know, Didi, you're bleeding on me.
Right.
Like, but I don't know what the cause of the wound is or where it's located. So that made me like, God damn, this girl here she don't let me make it. So that really is a powerful statement to make, and I encourage everyone out there, whether you are in a relationship, engaged, or like whatever, like make sure that you are not still bleeding on your spouse behind things that took place well before they were in your life.
If I was bleeding on you and I had not gotten my stuff together, my response is to be like, all right, F it. I'm good by myself. Like, I don't need this. I don't need the drama. I'm good. I am able to say, hey, baby, you are bleeding on me, and you are able to say it now in a calm way because we got past those points of being scared that this person is going to reject me.
And let's be real, like in today's, you know, Tinder, Hinge, Instagram, all of that world, like that's a real possibility for some people. And we're not saying like stick it out no matter what. Like we're saying go ahead and be upfront with people so that they know what they are getting themselves into, and they know, okay, they're acting this way because this is what their trauma is. When we met with our therapist, Scott and Jennifer, Kayla actually introduced me to them back in college. That was to get help with another relationship.
Right.
Now that we start going and they make that connection, we went together for our pre-engagement counseling. So that was about $80. We encourage everybody to sign up.
Right.
We don't get anything out of this besides knowing that you're getting the help you need.
It ain't sponsored.
And we, you know, talked about what things we needed to discuss prior to getting engaged and what things we already have discussed. And we were able to check a lot of things off the list, but also dive deeper. That's always something that has felt really good about our relationship. There was a time where, like, as a man and growing up the way I did, I was like, I'm not finna go air out all my business to these people and then we fix everything and come back and we got another issue. Now I gotta look at them with shame. Like, there is no shame in getting help. My wife is able to get what she needs from her husband, like, so much easier than us sitting here bumping heads, like, and disagreeing.
And another thing we had to get real about is what we want in a partner as far as our faith goes. Growing up in a church environment, you know, I always knew God, and then I got a personal relationship with God for myself. So I knew I wanted a husband that could be the spiritual covering of our house. But I know that when I told you that we had two different definitions of what that looked like. So what did you interpret that to be when I said that?
So originally I interpret that and I was like, ooh, I got some work to do. Again, that's just from the outside looking in what I thought that looked like, which was I'm up before her on Sunday. I done already ironed my suit. I'm praying before we eat breakfast. I'm praying before we pull off to go to church. I'm praying, thanking God for getting us to church. And then I'm running up and down the aisles. Like, I just thought that I had to be this very flamboyant Christian because, again, that's the environment I grew up in, and that wasn't it. Like, the actual relationship with God.
You said it right there, relationship. And that's, to me, what a spiritual leader and a spiritual covering is. It is just somebody that is committed, and I always say this, to when things are looking crazy on the outside, that they are committed to looking up and encouraging their family to look up instead of looking out. And so I wanted someone that I could, pray with. Of course, he has to go to church, but it extends far more than just Sunday.
Yeah, just attending, like.
Right, it's a lifestyle. You put God at the center of your life, and he is included in that. And growing up, my mom, don't get me wrong, my dad had a relationship with God and prayed, but my mom carried the spiritual kind of weight of the household. So she was the one that encouraged us to get up and go to church and to seek relationship for ourselves. And my dad, he definitely would encourage us to go to Bible study too. I remember he was the one that drove us to my grandmother's house so that we could have Bible studies on Wednesdays, because he knew how important that spiritual relationship was. But I never saw them do it together and join together to make a 3-strand cord with dad, mom, God. And so I knew that's what I wanted, dad, mom, God. And so, I don't know, once we got together, I knew that you weren't where I was when it came to, like, going to church and everything like that, but I never wanted to pressure you into doing something you didn't want to do.
And I appreciated that. But again, in that moment, you saw those things.
Right.
What still made you want to give me a shot?
Well, to be honest, at first I told God, okay, you know what I want and you know what my leader has to look like. So I'm going to give this guy a chance, and I'm going to let you show me that you're working on him. And I put it on God to pull on you to bring you closer to him.
How long did you feel that took? And when did you know for sure, like, okay, God, like, I see you?
I feel like it took a few weeks, but when I say a few weeks, I'm not talking about like months on months on months. I'm talking about it took maybe a month. I'd say at max a month and a half. And I was praying, and I was just like, God, pull him spiritually if this is who I'm supposed to be with. And I remember the moment where it was like, oh, okay. We were in the car, and there was a specific church that I wanted to visit. And I had mentioned it to you, but it wasn't like, ooh, take me to church. It was just like, oh, wow. Like looking on someone's social media, like, I need to go to that church. And I remember one day we got in the car, and you were like, God told me to take you to this church this weekend. And I was like, what?
After already driving 3-something hours to visit her, we're gonna drive a little bit further.
Yes.
But it really was just in me. Over time, like, I would start saying like, hey babe, let me pray for you real quick.
Yeah.
Or hey, I know you having a tough day, or it's a tough morning. And I would want to pray for her, and I would want her to feel better. Like, and sometimes to the point where I'm in tears or she's in tears, but we're ready to go and we're fired up because we know we got God on our side and we can make it through it. So while we were building that time for me to start to move out here, every time we would come, regardless of, okay, we only have Friday night to spend together, all of Saturday, and then Sunday until church. But it was all a part of the process. God protected me on that road the entire way, always protected my wife the entire way. But that was faith that was built from an expectation that she set, and she let God know, like, this is something I want in that person, and she didn't compromise. I could have folded at any moment when it came to that and said, girl, I don't feel like going to church, get that booty over here, like.
And he knew that would have been like, okay, you know what? Hey, you're not for me.
But I had to stick to it, like, hey, this is a part of where my life is. And like I said, I'm very transparent. I haven't posted my testimony, but a short while ago, I tried to take my own life. I would not be here had it not been for that faith.
Right.
So,
and that's important to know, because faith now plays a big part in our life, because you don't know what trials you're going to walk through as a married couple. And I will say, when you get married, things change. And when I say things change, not for the bad, but you really get to know someone once you enter a covenant, and you upset the enemy by doing that. And so you get things thrown at you. And Faith has been our cornerstone. The fact that you are covering each other is so important because especially as women, I was telling you the other day, as a woman, you grow up and you're expected to get married and change your name, and then you get pregnant and your features change and everything about you becomes different than what you are born to. And so coming under somebody else, that is scary and it is frightening, but it is doable as long as I know that you are submitted to someone higher than just yourself.
I answer to someone, and like,
the right one.
The right one, like
Lord.
Yeah.
Because there's many. There is many. Wow.
Many that these people are answering to.
Legion.
So, valid point.
So I think that the third thing that really helped us kind of like build the building blocks of doing something different is being transparent with our phones, social media, all of the things that people don't want to do. And I think that was extra important because we both experienced infidelity and cheating. And so when it came to dating, especially across state lines, that level of transparency and feeling comfortable with each other was a necessity.
In these DMs, that's something that I needed, that's something that she needed.
Yeah.
So we eliminated like the first step of that point, which was phones. That's the start. We ain't even getting to the apps yet. The passcode, my wife, even when she was my girlfriend, even when we were just dating, that was the first obstacle we tackled. Everybody is always so secretive with their phone. We done had people that sleep with their phone in the bed, all of that stuff. Like, all of that. We don't want that. So we broke that barrier automatically. I gave her my password. She gave me hers. I couldn't remember hers very well for a long time.
And neither could I.
But we would always, hey, can you unlock this for me? Can you unlock this for me? And we would do that, and it would be nothing. It wouldn't be like, while I'm looking, she ain't over there like, oh, what are you looking at? Did I delete such and such? All of that. She didn't get none of that on my side. Like, we were always transparent. Again, we had already had a conversation about, expectations and what we want for our relationship.
And being exclusive. And this is when we were just dating. Like, when we decided to be exclusive, what that looked like and what entertaining people look like. Because things to other people, like entertaining somebody may be going on a date or jumping on a call. It may not be interacting via DM, but in my head, any entertainment is entertainment.
Exactly, and that's something I appreciated is that my then girlfriend was not naive to say, oh, it's just a conversation, it's just a friend. Like, nah, man, these dudes and these women are scandalous. Scandalous. I didn't need her sign in on my phone. She didn't need, like, we don't do that. Like, it's literally, hey, if I need to see it, I'll check it. If not, I won't. Like, we leave
and
it
wasn't even to check, I think, for the most part. It was just like testing. Hey, if I needed to use your phone, how are you going to react to that? Is there going to be something you're going to be like, hang on, let me go delete this first, or let me unlock it for you, and you going through your messages.
Or let me break it, it's broke.
Right, or clearing your search history. And I think that also added another level of transparency for sure, because what you do in your phone and in your space, like, that's private. And so to open up to somebody and to let them see that, you want to be sure that you're being the person that you said you were going to be to them. And I just really appreciate us doing that at the early phase of our relationship, because it allowed me to trust you a whole lot faster and way more. And truth be told, if you don't have anything to hide, going back to that, I'm sorry. If you don't have anything to hide, then a passcode that your partner knows shouldn't bother you anyway. And I think that leads us to our last level of transparency that we had to really get over in order to trust each other completely. And that was be transparent with our finances.
The money.
And I'm telling you, I don't think that you can, if you can't trust your spouse with what's on your phone and with your finances, there is something that you guys need to talk about in counseling, because that is just a symptom of something deeper. And I think our relationship really took off once we really got transparent with our finances. And when we were just dating and boyfriend and girlfriend, I remember we started with little stuff. We didn't just jump into combining accounts, but we were transparent. Like, hey, this is what I have. This is what I earn. This is the debt that I have. And not just debt, like, this is my plan to tackle that. And I think we both had really healthy plans.
It was what is your financial plan? Like, what is your current financial status and where are you going? Because she was well into her career, I was well into my career. You know, we are on track to make X amount of dollars. Like, you want to know who you're getting involved with.
Right.
And again, what they bring to the table as well. We always talk about the table and this and that, but like, what is your situation?
Right.
Like, let's establish that baseline. And that takes away the pressures to, you know, buy the extravagant gifts, go on the extravagant dates and vacations. Like, there's a baseline. Kind of talk about that, babe, like what the individual path looked like at first.
I wanted to make sure that I had everything to the T and I was just the model wife. And then I realized that if I was going to be in a relationship with somebody right now, especially serious, that they accepted me as I was. And so when we were going in different directions and we were like, hey, you know, I'm gonna clear this by myself, you're gonna clear this by yourself. We started on that path.
They're holding each other accountable with our individual spending. Like, you know, hey, you're coming to OKC, or hey, you're coming to Texas. Like, let's save our money for when we're together.
Right, instead of just doing things when we were apart that accumulated to so much, and then doing things that weren't even fun. Like, these were like Wendy's runs for you and like Chipotle runs for me, like, but every day. So I was like, okay, come on, we can't do that. But I think that also allowed us to see, hey, this is the person that I'm going to be combining finances with. If they're serious about their financial plans and if I am, then we're going to have to get serious together. And I'm gonna have to get smarter with my money. Petty spending, emotional spending, ladies. Oh my God, I'm sad, let me get a bag or let me book a trip. Like, when you combine finances with somebody, you are also stewarding their money too and their hard-earned work. So I think a respect had to be earned and learned with each other.
Like, I respect that 40 to 60 hours you put in.
Right.
You respect my 40 to 60. This is what we brought together. We simplified everything once we got married because I decided, I don't want to keep $1 from my wife. And
personal decision. I did not.
Yeah, she didn't require that.
I didn't require that.
She was like, well, honey, you can still have your spending money and this and that. And I was like, no. Like, this is what's gonna help me accumulate wealth because it's gonna minimize my frivolous spending because somebody can see it at all times.
Accountability.
And that's what I needed. Like, I had never had that, and growing up in a single parent household, like, I got the things I needed, but the things I wanted, like, if I didn't work for it or figure out a hustle for it or mama work overtime, I wasn't gonna get it. So naturally, when I became an adult and I'm a grown man and I have my own income, I'm gonna get what I want.
Yeah.
And sometimes that was bad. Having my wife hold me accountable, like, I could see the increases like almost instantly. Everything is combined together. From there, like, we would set up, okay, we're gonna put X amount of dollars in our savings account when we get paid, and this is how much the bills are, this is what pad is left. So now we've given money to investments, to our savings, we've paid all of our bills, this is how much money we have left over. We give ourselves spending money in cash to minimize microtransactions.
Like you said, it's that accountability. And again, we want to stress that these are things we did not join accounts until we were married.
Yeah.
I think that is a key thing because when you are dating somebody or when you are engaged,
that might rob your ass.
Yes, you still have time to pull out.
Yeah.
And
you have a literal door and you have an exit.
So, when you're married, it's different. You have another level of security. There's legal things in place to where, it protects you. So that was for my married people. The process of starting to talk about it And to be transparent about it was when we were dating. All of those things that you just mentioned allowed us to redefine and define gender roles and how we wanted to do our marriage. And gender roles was super important because growing up, I watched my mom, on top of being tired from a 40-hour work week, and then, you know, in a traditional household, dad, he goes to work, comes, sits on the couch, gets his meal handed to him, and that is totally fine for anyone who wants to do that. But I just saw my mom get very exhausted and had little time to reload. And so for me, I wasn't trying to do that. And I told Dondrei, I said, look,
I don't want to be Aunt Jemima.
I don't want to be Aunt Jemima. I don't enjoy cooking. I'm honestly not that good at it. Now I am, but when I was telling him this, I said, I'm honestly not that good at it. I want a partner. And I was just like, if you think I'm about to just sit up here and be barefoot, bow-legged, and pregnant, I'm just not finna do that. I thought that was a requirement, but that was not a requirement for you.
Yeah, in that same life, plus the 40 hours, I grew up watching my mom work 60 and 80 and like as many hours as she possibly could to make sure I had what I needed and that she had, you know, what she needed, covered the bills, everything. So for me, my outlook was any partner that I have, they don't need to work. Any partner that I have, they don't need to pay the bills, like none of that. I'm gonna take care of that because I grew up seeing my mom work her ass off. That was just something that was instilled in my mind. A woman should not have to work this hard. That may be a triggering statement today or something like that, or sexist, but in my head, that's how I felt. And naturally, when it came time for me to have the woman of my dreams, she for sure ain't gotta do nothing she don't wanna do. Early on, like when it came to that housework and stuff,
Yeah.
It wasn't just about the money aspect. Like I couldn't give the money aspect and work those hours for my mom, but she shouldn't have to come home and have to clean up and do dishes and sweep and mop and all of this. So naturally when I get my partner, Kayla, oh my gosh, her apartment was spot. Like drawers are organized, the clothes may not be folded pristinely inside of them.
But they're clean and there's no dishes because I ain't cooking.
No dishes
like
she ain't cooking. Like,
there was nothing to get dirty.
it was good. Like it literally was like your ideal bachelorette apartment. Again, that thought of I don't want to be Aunt Jemima. I'm okay with doing this for me. But to say I'm finna do this for a grown-ass man,
right?
Like what makes me want to do that?
I will say it wasn't necessarily like I can do this for me, now I have to do this for you, or do you think I want to do this for you? I think it was just when you combine lives with somebody, it's twice the laundry, it's twice the dishes, it's twice the dirt, twice the shoes, twice the socks on the floor. And so it's not just I don't want to do it for you, but the load gets heavier. And so when the load gets heavier, hang on, I'm not that strong, wait, bro. That's when I was like, let's talk about expectations. Because if that's what you think a wife is supposed to be, I'm not your mate. Once we got together, I think you showed beautifully the power of servant leadership because you served me first. You made sure that I knew there was nothing I could ask you to do that you did not know how to or weren't capable of doing. And you made me feel comfortable being a partner. And I always say this little story. Like, I remember I was going to work from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. And so I came home one day and you were there in my apartment and the floors, I had never seen my floors that clean. And I knew he had cleaned it. And so I said, babe, like, this is really good. And he was like, yeah, I wanted to clean your floors for you. So I went.
Hardwood floors.
They were beautiful. And so he said, I went and got soap and water and a towel, not a mop. Soap and water and a towel, because I didn't have a mop. I didn't have a mop. And he said, I got down on my hands and knees and I cleaned the floors. And it was that moment that clicked to me, okay, I have a partner that is willing to do things with me, and not only that, but do it without me asking. Yeah. And so you made it easy for me to submit to you because you served me first. And I was like, okay, well, if you're gonna clean the floors on your hands and knees, I can't say what I wanted to say.
Yeah. But I feel you, baby.
You know, like, I can cook a meal or two. Like, it's not gonna hurt me. And so that's when, for me, it clicked that I have a partner. And I think a lot of women want that, but just don't know how to articulate it.
Again, I'm thankful, like I said, nowadays we get into, okay, she don't like dishes,
Right.
I can take care of the dishes, whether she cook or if I cook. I don't like laundry, she always knock out the laundry.
I got you. Agree. And you don't like washing the tub, I don't like doing the toilet, so we do that. It's just a partnership. That is the reason why a lot of resentment doesn't build up between us. There's nothing that we can't talk to each other about.
And talk through.
Yeah, because that level of trust is there to where if I tell you something hurt me, you're not going to abuse it, throw it in my face. You're going to accept that. We're going to troubleshoot and we're going to move on and do better.
We're gonna have so much more to talk about, similar things like this. Expect these next couple episodes to be about 30 minutes in length, probably a little shorter, maybe a little longer. You never know when the conversation is good. I love talking to my wife. We love y'all, man, and this has been a great experience. We hope that you leave with something. There's something informative there. Check out some of the clips on social media. Keep checking in, subscribe to the channel, and we out here, man.
My husband said, like and subscribe.
We YouTubers, I guess.